Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Joanne. Today I'll be sharing with you guys how to cut a long pencil skirt with a split in front. Guys, if you're sure you want to see this video, watch till the end. Welcome back. So this is the fabric I'll be making use of for this tutorial, and this is the scissors, the tape rule and the chalk I'll be using for this tutorial. I'm going to keep the scissors aside and begin the tutorial, but before that it is important to note that I placed the fabric on fold, and this is both the front and the back piece or panel. That is the back and here is the front. I'll be cutting these two together and I'm placing them together to cut to just to save my time, guys. That is why I'm doing this. So next thing I'll be doing is to determine the amount of fabric I'll be using, because I don't want to waste any of this fabric. So I'm going to be determining the amount of fabric I'll be using for this tutorial, and I'm using my hip circumference, which happens to be the largest circumference, and I'm going ahead to place 2 inches seam allowance, and it is on point. So guys, next I'll be marking the starting point on the waist side. I'll be marking a starting point. That is to begin. That is where I'll be starting my measurements from the waist side. I'll mark half of an inch as the starting point. Actually, the model I'm using doesn't want band for this skirt, so I'm making this skirt bandless. So if you don't know how to do a bandless skirt, this is actually a great opportunity for you to also learn how to make a bandless skirt. So for my previous tutorial about skirts, I've taught how to cut and sew a skirt with band. So this is actually an opportunity for you also to learn how to cut and sew a bandless skirt. So this is the starting point. Like what I'm doing now, I'm trying to mark the starting point. Please take note that any measurement, any circumference, any measurement I'm taking, I'm not going to be taking from the back panel. I'm taking from the front panel, please. So if in order not for you to get confused, just tuck in the back panel and start measuring from the front panel. That is the center of the front panel. I hope you understand. So this is the skirt hip line I'm taking. It is 9 inches because the person is a plus size. That is why I'm doing 9 inches, and I'm going to be taking the skirt length. So I'm placing the tape to know the skirt length I'm taking, and actually the skirt length is 41 inches. So this is me going up over to take the skirt length, which is 41 inches. I'll be repeating what I just did here on the other side, because I like doing that so that when I'm connecting my lines, it will come out straight. Hope you understand. So I'm going to take 41 inches on this other side, and I'll go ahead and take 2 inches down below to serve as the hemming allowance. So this is 2 inches down below, which is the hemming allowance. So I'm done taking this measurement. I'll use my ruler to connect each of the lines. So I'll go ahead now and impute the waist measurements, the hip measurement, and I'll also impute the the length measurement. So beginning with the waist measurement, I'm going to be dividing the entire waist measurement by 4. I'm dividing the waist measurement by 4, and whatever I'm going to be imputing that on the waistline, like so. After that, I'll add my dart allowance, which is 1 inch and 2 inches seam allowance. So I'll do the same thing on the hip side, which is I'll be taking the entire hip measurement. Whatever I have, I'm going to be imputing that on the hip, and I'll go ahead and take my 2 inches seam allowance. I'm not taking that on the hip part. So on the length of the skirt, I'm going to be taking 8 inches. The reason why I'm taking 8 inches is to have that fitting, that pencil fitting on the length. But if you don't like that pencil fitting, because normally it's called a pencil skirt, that is why I want that fitting. But if you don't want that fitting, that pencil fitting, you can go ahead and do 9 inches or 9.5 inches. It totally depends on what you want, but 8 inches is usually very fine by me. I usually do 8 inches when it comes to a pencil long skirt. So this is me trying to connect the points, the lines together. So guys, I'm done connecting the lines, and as you can see, the shape is already out. So the next thing I'll be doing is to go ahead and take half 1 inch down, but since I'm cutting directly on my fabric, I'll be doing half of an inch. Then the remaining half inch, I'll use it to turn the skirt. So I'm taking half of an inch from the center waist, skirt waist, to the side, in order to avoid any bulkiness around the waist side. So I'm going to cut the excesses out. If you notice, I folded the hemming allowance in, because after cutting it, I wouldn't want to run short of fabric around the hem side. Let me show you how it is. This is how it is, guys, around the hem side. So I'm going to cut through the zipper parts. This is it. Please, if you're cutting this together, both the front and the back together, just take out the front part before cutting through the zipper part. And I'm going to notch where the zipper is, so that when I'm sewing, I'll know exactly where the zipper is, since I didn't use a chalk to mark a line there. So this is me cutting out the half of an inch I marked there, in order to eliminate any bulkiness around the waist side. And this is the shape, guys. It's already out and it's looking so pretty. So next thing I'll be doing is to take the split length, and I'm just going to keep the back pattern aside, because I won't be using that for now. So to take the split length, I'm going to be taking the measurement from the waist side. I'm taking 37 inches, but I noticed that after taking that particular measurement, before I cut through it, wasn't really what I wanted, so I came up a bit and I finally ended up using 34 inches from the waist to where I want my split to start. I used 34 inches. But what you do is, if you're making it, you can take that measurement where you want your split to start and end. So this is me cutting through where the splits, and I tried as much as possible to stop where I marked. I didn't go beyond where I marked with my chalk. So this is it, guys, and I'm going to be using a bridal satin to sew the splits. Although you can use a bias strip for the split like what we have on the image. You can use a bias strip. I don't really want to use a bias strip. I want to use a bridal satin for it. So this is the bridal satin I'll be making use of, and I'll be cutting the bridal satin the width of 2.5 inches in width, and the entire length, split length. I'm be cutting the entire split length. I'm going to be adding 3 inches to the entire split length. So you guys, please just pay close attention to what I'm about to do so you can follow up on how I am doing it. So I'm going to have to fold the bridal satin into two, and take the width of the width, the measurements in width, which is 3 inches, or then I'll take the measurement in length, which is the entire split length, and I'm going to add about 3 inches to it so it can give me the desired look. So I'm going to now place the fabric to the bridal satin on the bridal satin and mark where the split ended. So I'm increasing that measurement by 3 inches on the bridal satin. So this is where I'm going to cut. From where the split ended, I increased the measurement by 3 inches, and I'm going ahead now to cut it out. So I'm going to have to keep the other one and concentrate on this other bridal satin I'm going to be using for the split. And this is how I'm placing it, making sure it stays equally, and afterwards I'm going to be cutting it through. As you can see, I've marked where the split ended and I'm cutting it through to where the split ended. I hope you guys are following what I'm doing. So this is how it's looking. I'm just going to place it for you guys to see, and I'll show you how we are going to be sewing this. So this is how it is. This is, at the end of the day, this is how it will look. So first off, I'll be sewing it around like this. Then afterwards, I'll have to fold in the edges. I'm doing this before turning it with lining because I don't want the stitches to show on the lining. That is why I'll have to do this first before turning it with my lining. So hope you guys are following. I'm going to have to take it to the sewing machine to show you guys how I finally did this and how it came out at the end of the day. So guys, before that, I will have to place the lining and show you after I'm done placing the bridal satin. I'm going to show you how I'm going to be placing the lining and how I'm going to be stitching the lining on the fabric. So this is how it is. If you notice, I also split the lining through. You have to split it also to where the split on the fabric ended. You have to do exactly the same thing. So after sewing the middle part, I'll turn the side. So guys, let's go to the machine. So guys, we are here, and I've already placed the bridal satin on the fabric, and I'm using an affix pin to place it down to just help me hold it down. But what I advise you do is that you can go ahead and use a hemming gum and place it, use your iron and your hemming gum, place it down so that it can stay properly rubber. I actually know how to manage this. It's not an issue, but if it's going to be an issue for you, I advise you use your hemming gum and place it down. Let it just stick down so you can go ahead and sew it without it folding. So I'm sewing the middle part first. As you can see, just stitching the middle part, both middle parts, and after stitching the middle part, I'm going to be folding the sides, just folding by 1/2 inch and all around, and so make sure it sits very well, make sure it stays relaxed, make sure it's not folding while you're doing this. Like I said, you could use your hemming gum to place it down, or what I did here, I should have used my iron to fold in 1/2 inch in, to fold in 1/2 inch, then so, but since I can manage this, it's not actually a big deal for me. But if it's going to be a problem, please take these steps. First, use your hemming gum and iron and place it down, then fold in 1/2 inch around, and so it will be a lot easier for you. So I'm done folding in, I'm sewing both sides, and this is how it's looking. I'm going to sew the upper part now. So I'm turning it downwards like this. I'm going to sew, and I'll just go ahead and sew. What I did, close to the edge, I left the needle in and I turn the fabric this way, and I'm going to sew it. I can have that corners, that actually the aim is to have that sharp corner. That is why I had to drop the needle, leave the needle in, and turn the way I did. Then I'm going to sew a straight line, then I'm going to turn, leave the needle in again, and turn and sew, as the case may be. Hope you understand. So I'm leaving the needle in, I'm going to turn the skirt, and I'm going to sew it down a bit. So this is how it is. This is how it's looking. It is actually, I've not ironed it yet, and it's looking very fine already. This is it. This is it. So I've already torn the skirt with my lining, the front pattern with my lining, and I'll go ahead now and iron it properly, very well. Take my time and iron it so it can come out very fine, and after that I'm going to show you guys how it came out. So guys, this is it. you guys see, it's after giving it a proper ironing, this is how it came out. Very pretty, guys, very fine. This is absolutely very fine. So at this point, guys, we are done with this tutorial. Thank you so much for sticking around. Bye.